So we're just going to go through the proof of the sine rule, just to show how it gets established and why we use it in a non-right angle triangle. So triangle ABC here is a non-right angle triangle, and what we do is we draw an altitude or a height line that is perpendicular to the base. Okay, so that's our height line. And once we've done that, then obviously we have some right angle triangles that we can deal with. So the main thing about this is that we're going to have to deal with angle C, and we're going to have to deal with angle B, okay, to do the proof. Now, when we label in sine and cosine rules, we tend to label our angles with capital letters and our sides with little letters, and that's a convention that's quite important. Now, if we use traditional trig, having got right angle triangles, that we know that we can do this triangle here, which is A, B, and then this little triangle here. And so we know that angle B is, we have a side opposite, which is our H, and hypotenuse. All right, so we're going to be using sine. So when we set this up, we do sine of angle B is equal to, and we'll use the height and C. We'll use those H over C. We'll just use that. Now there's a reason why this is called C, all right, because C is opposite to big C. So the side that is opposite to the angle, so big C is this angle here, little c will be the side opposite. Big B is here, that's the angle, little b is opposite. Big A is here, that's the angle, and the side opposite is little a. So that's why we name it, and there's a very specific convention that we have to use to do that. So anyway, we have sine B is going to be equal to H over C, which is the opposite over the hypotenuse. And then we also have, can do the same thing for C over here, because it's got a right angle triangle, bigger triangle, but sine of C is equal to, again, opposite over hypotenuse, only it's going to be H over B. So that's what we've got when we just do basic. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to rearrange these for H, for the hypotenuse, or for the altitude for H. So we're going to get H is equal to sine of B times C, and H over here is going to be sine of C times B. So we've got H being equal to this and also being equal to this, so that we can actually make a statement, sine B times C is equal to sine big C times little b. Now we can then rearrange this again by basically just putting these over, just a little bit of algebra. It doesn't change anything, but we're just going to basically put these over the sine B sine C. So we're going to sort of divide, if you will, by sine B times sine C. Okay, and sine, put this over sine B times sine C. And that doesn't change anything. It just puts it over a common denominator sort of thing here. But what happens is the sine B's cancel themselves out. So rearranging this, we get C over sine big C is equal to, and then these cancel out. We get little b over sine big B. Now this is the beginnings of the sine cosine rule, because this is part of the sine cosine rule. Now there is another, we can also repeat this above statement for drawing an altitude from B to AC basically. So we've changed the altitude. We're no longer drawing it from A, we're now drawing it from B, and then like this. So now what we have is we're going to have a very, very similar situation, doing exactly the same thing as we did over there, only we're going to be dealing with angle A. Okay, so we're going to be dealing with angle A. And if angle A is going to be, so sine of A is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, which is H over C. And then we're going to use C, which is H opposite, sine of C, which is H over B. H over A, hypotenuse. So that's the right angle there. So A is the hypotenuse, so opposite over hypotenuse, right? H over A. And then if we rearrange that, we're going to get H is equal to sine A times C, and H over here is going to be sine C times A. And then we know that those are going to be equal. And then we can set this up, so this is going to be over sine A times sine, a little ahead of myself. C is going to, so if we basically multiply this by sine A times sine C, and multiply this by sine A times sine C, and then we're going to get those to cancel away, and we get C over sine C is equal to, those cancel, A over sine A. Now what you do is you see that we already had this. So all three of these, sine C over sine C, B over sine B, they're all equal. So the sine rule is basically C over sine C is equal to A over sine big A, which is equal to little b over sine big B. That's the sine rule. That's the sine rule. And basically you're drawing height lines into a non-right angle triangle and using some trigonometry